Today we're very pleased to welcome two wonderful poets, Marie Howe and Sharon Dubiago. Marie Howe is the author of 2 volumes of poetry, The Good Thief and What the Living Do, and the co-editor of a book of essays, In the Company of My Solitude, American Writing from the AIDS Pandemic. Stanley Kunitz selected Howe for a Levin Younger Poets Prize from the American Academy of Poets. She has, in addition, been a fellow at the Bunting Institute at Radcliffe and a recipient of an NEA and Guggenheim Fellowships. Her poems have appeared in the New Yorker, the Atlantic, Poetry, Agni, Plowshares, Harvard Review, and the Partisan Review, among others. Currently, Howe teaches creative writing at Sarah Lawrence College, Columbia, and New York University. I have to say about Marie Howe that I think that What the Living Do is one of the strongest books of poetry I've ever read. And I recommend it every semester to my graduate students and my undergraduate students. I love the book. I love Marie Howe's poetry. I love her honesty, her directness, her playing with the long line, all the wonderful things she does with her poetry. Let's welcome Marie Howe.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Maria. Force of nature, woman, goddess, warrior, poetry warrior, spiritual warrior in the world. Thank you for everything you do, Maria, for every minute, all these years, all this time. I was saying to Sharon, Maria is just an extraordinary presence in the world of poetry, and you've made just so much flowering happen. It's always a pleasure to do anything with you. It's great to see you all. I'm so grateful to the people in my workshop for your work and your presence today. Thank you. It's really moving to be with you. I'm really glad to meet you. I don't know.
That's Rosemary Johnson. Excuse
Hi,
me, Rosemary, who does a wonderful job doing our sign.
It's okay. Rosemary Johnson. Hi.
Hi.
Let's meet
Nice
you
to meet you too. The poems I'm going to read are all from the next book, which I'm handing in a week, and it's called The Kingdom of Ordinary Time. Anybody here know what ordinary time is in the liturgical calendar? Ordinary time, you know. What is it, ordinary time? You. Yeah, you know.
Oh, in the church year?
Yeah.
The way the calendar runs, yeah.
What is it? What's ordinary time?
It's not Easter, it's not... No,
Yeah, you're right. It's not Easter, it's not Christmas. That's
So we always have something we call the entire year. What is ordinary time?
good question. What is ordinary time? In the church year, or the liturgical year for some of us growing up, remember there's Advent, there's Lent, there's the High Holy Seasons, and in between there's this period called ordinary time, which I loved growing up because you turn the pages of the Missal and it'd be the coming of ordinary time, and then the first Sunday of ordinary time, the second Sunday of ordinary time. And this notion of ordinary time, even when I was a young girl, was interesting to me. It struck me as a time, I mean, metaphorically speaking, where nothing apparently miraculous was happening, right? But it's the time, it seems, that most of us live in. And at this period in our lives, of in the world history, where so much is being done in the name of religions, and yet there's so many of us who don't know what we believe. I keep thinking about this notion of ordinary time. So here's a little prologue to the book. Just refers to a couple of the miracles of the New Testament, the loaves and the fishes, which Maria does on a weekly basis. And nothing else you really need to know is a prologue. The rules once again applied. 1 loaf equaled 1 loaf. 1 fish equaled 1 fish. The so-called kings were dead. And the woman who had been healed grew tired of telling her story, and sometimes asked her daughter to tell it. People generally worshipped where their parents had worshipped. The men who'd hijacked the airplane prayed where the dead pilots had been sitting, and the passengers prayed from their seats. So many songs went up and out into the thinning air. People listening and watching nodded and wept, and Leaving the theater, one turned to the other and said, "What do you want to do now?" And the other one said, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" It was the coming of ordinary time. First Sunday, second Sunday, and then, for who knows how long, it was here. After the movie, thanks, guys. After the movie, my friend Michael and I are walking home, arguing about the movie. He says that he believes a person can love someone and still be able to murder that person. I say no, that's not love. That's attachment. Michael says, no, that's love. You can love someone, then come to a day when you're forced to think it's him or me, think me, and kill him. I say, then it's not love anymore. Michael says, it was love up to then, though. I say, maybe we mean different things by the same word. Michael says, humans are complicated. Love can exist even in the murderous heart. I say that what he might mean by love is desire. Love is not a feeling, I say. And Michael says, then what is it? We're walking along West 16th Street, a clear, unclouded night. And I hear my voice repeating what I used to say to my husband. Love is action, I used to say to him. Simone Weil says that when you really love, you are able to look at someone you want to eat and not eat them. Janis Joplin says, take another little piece of my heart now. Meister Eckhart says that as long as we love any image, we are doomed to live in purgatory. Michael and I stand on the corner of 6th Avenue saying goodnight. I can't drink enough of the tangerine spritzer I've just bought. Again and again, I bring the cold can to my mouth and suck the stuff from the hole the flip top made. What are you doing tomorrow? Michael says. But what I think he's saying is, you are too strict. You are a nun. Then I think, do I love Michael enough to allow him to think these things of me, even if he's not actually thinking them? Above Manhattan, the moon wanes, and the sky turns clearer and colder, although the days after the solstice have started to lengthen. We both know the winter has only begun. Here's a little poem called Courage from the Playground, where I learn a lot these days, or I used to. Courage. I'm helping my little girl slide down the pole next to the slide and bridge construction when a little boy walks up and says, "Why are you helping that young person do something that's too dangerous for her?" "Why do you say it's too dangerous?" I say. And he says, "She's too young." And I say, "How old are you?" And he says, 4.5. And I say, "Well, she's 3.5. He comes back a little later and says, "I'll show you how it's done," and climbs up the ladder and slides down the pole. Then he says, "She's too young." What happens is that when you get older, you get braver. Then he pauses and looks at me. "Are you brave?" "Brave?" I say, looking at him. "Are you afraid of Parasite 2? He says. And I say, "What's Parasite 2? And he walks away slowly, shaking his head. Would you rather? My sister told me that when she was giving birth, every time a contraction passed, She was surprised she was still conscious, proud that she hadn't passed out. The guy on the Nature Channel said that the anaconda tried to eat the large gazelle, but when his mouth got to the wide horns, he stopped. High over the city now, one silver airplane flying towards Europe, towards the past. Some of the people on the plane must be reading the newspaper, holding the pages out in front, or reading the paper folded as if the plane were a subway. And the woman shot, running with her 2 children towards the forest, shot with one child in her arms, is a story someone on the plane is reading. The other child running behind her, shot too, her body found on the path 2 or 3 feet behind her mother's. And the baby apparently shot where he fell. The anaconda will eat the gazelle until his mouth knocks against the horns. His mouth isn't wide enough to admit. Then his jaws unhinge and widen. The man said the anaconda will admit the horns even if they rip his body open from the inside. Would you rather be the woman or one of the soldiers? The baby or the soldier who shot and bayoneted the baby when he got there? There's a little poem called Limbo, which is another state that apparently doesn't exist anymore. Did I imagine this, or did the Pope come out and say that there is no hell?
You imagined it.
This Pope?
The Pope before this. I swear he did this. I know there's no more Limbo, apparently, although everybody I know lives there. But I think he came out and said that I feel like I dreamt it, but I also feel like it was true. That the Pope before this came out and said there is no such place as hell. Hell is a state of mind, and it's loneliness. Which feels true. Limbo. Each of them can't decide if there is a God or if there is a self. Do I have an I, one says, to another, who seems distracted, looking out what might have been a window. What is the difference between a self and a soul? Is it true that one God is in relationship to each of us, or is the each of us an illusion, and we are the God we are looking for? That's what the distracted one is thinking, and what she wants to know. And she wishes that other person would stop bothering her, and she wishes she had more time to think about these things, although she has all the time in the world. Don't you feel like we should just have a crowd with us whenever we do something like empty the dishwasher?
Yeah.
Like, you know, fill the dishwasher. I feel like, you know, that's the stuff we need to get applauded for every day. Like the filling and the emptying. And thank God there is a dishwasher, right? I'm not complaining about the dishwasher, believe me, I'm not. The Star Market. Did anybody here grow up with a Star Market? You did? The big green star on top? Ooh. The Star Market. The people Jesus loved were shopping at the Star Market yesterday. An old lead-colored man standing next to me at the checkout breathed so heavily I had to step back a few steps. Even after his bags were packed, he still stood, breathing hard and hawking into his hand. The feeble, the lame, I could hardly look at them, shuffling through the aisles. They smelled of decay, as if the Star Market had declared a day off for the able-bodied, and I had wandered in with the rest of them, sour milk, bad meat, looking for cereal and spring water. Jesus must have been a saint, I said to myself, looking for my lost car in the parking lot later, stumbling among the people who would have been lowered into rooms by ropes, who would have crept out of caves or crawled from the corners of public baths on their hands and knees, begging for mercy. If I touch only the hem of his garment, one woman thought, I will be healed. Could I bear the look on his face when he wheeled around? Who touched me? He said. Marriage. My husband likes to watch the cooking shows, the building shows, the Discovery Channel, and the Surgery Channel. Last night he told us about a man who came into the emergency room with a bayonet stuck entirely through his skull and brain. Did they get it out? We all asked. They did. And the man was okay because the blade went exactly between the two halves without severing them. And who had shoved this bayonet into the man's head? His wife. A strong woman, someone said. And everyone else agreed. A lot of married people in the audience, I think. Okay, I'm going to read from this little group of poems, these Mary poems. I love Mary, the mother of Jesus. I love her as a person. Meister Eckhart, the great mystic, said that perhaps Jesus was the fruit of Mary's enlightenment. Doesn't that feel true? Doesn't it feel true? Perhaps Jesus is the fruit of Mary's enlightenment. This is just a very short group of little sonnets in her voice. And it's her before she was a mother. It's her as a person, existentially alive as we are in the world. Talking about moments in her girlhood. Sometimes the moon sat in the well at night, and when I stirred it with a stick, it broke. If I kept stirring, it swirled like white water, as if water were light, and the stick a wand that made the light follow, then slow into water again, unwobbling until the wind moved it. And I thought of all the moons, floating in the wells and rivers, spilling over rocks where the water broke, moons in the sheep water, the chicken water, or here or there an oar bent it, or a woman spread out her skirt and let it pool there. The light, I mean, not the moon in a circle, not the moon itself, but the light that fell from it. Once or twice, or 3 times, I saw something rise from the dust in the yard like the soul of the dust, or from the field, the soul body of the field, rise and hover like a veil in the sun billowing, as if I could see the wind itself. I thought I did it, squinting, but I didn't. As if the edges of what is blurred, so what was in bled out, breathed up and mingled, bush, cow, dust, well, breathed a field I walked through waist high as through high grass or water, my fingers swirling through it or it through me. I saw it, thing and spirit both, the real world, evident, invisible. Thank you. How you can't move moonlight, how you can't move moonlight. You have to go there and stand in it. How you can't coax it from your bed to come and shine there. You can't carry it in a bucket or cup it in your hands to drink. Wind won't blow it. A bird flying through it won't tear it. How you can't sell it or buy it or save it or earn it or own it. Erase it or block it from shining on the mule's bristly back, dog's snout, duck bill, cricket, toad. Shallow underwater stones gleam underwater. And the man who has just broken the neck of his child, he's standing by the window, moonlight shining on his face and throat. Thanks. You think this happened only once and long ago? Think of a summer night and someone talking across the water. Maybe someone you loved in a boat, rowing. and you could hear the oars dripping in the water from half a lake away, and they were far and close at once. You didn't need to touch them or call to them or talk about it later. The sky, it was what you breathed. The lake sky that fell as rain. I have been like you, filled with worry, then relief. You know, the wind is sky moving. It happens all the time. And I have to bring in Stanley here, Stanley Kunitz, who was such a good friend and a friend to so many people here I know. When I was writing these, I brought them to him and he said, "No, you must write an Annunciation poem." And yeah, that's what I said. That's exactly what I said, ha ha ha. But of course I went home and tried and tried and tried. And when I gave up, this voice wrote the poem. I had nothing to do with it, nothing. I simply wrote it down. It's Mary talking. Even if I don't see it again, nor ever feel it, I know it is. And that if once it hailed me, it ever does. And so it is myself I want to turn in that direction, not as towards a place, but it was a shifting within myself as one turns a mirror to flash the light to where it isn't. I was blinded like that and swam in what shone at me, only able to endure it by being no one. And so specifically myself, I thought I'd die from being loved like that. I'm just going to read one more last poem. It's a little poem called The Snowstorm to celebrate the spring outside. Oopsie. No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to read this little poem called Hurry. My beautiful assistant is not in the room right now, but it's sort of for my daughter. It's a little thing. Hurry. We stop at the dry cleaners and the grocery store and the gas station and the green market and hurry up, honey, I say, hurry, hurry, as she runs along 2 or 3 steps behind me, her blue jacket unzipped and her socks rolled down as she likes them. Where do I want her to hurry to? To her grave, to mine, where one day she'll stand all grown. Today, when all the errands are finally done, I say to her, honey, I'm sorry I keep saying hurry. You walk ahead of me, you be the mother. And hurry up, she says over her shoulder, looking back at me, laughing. Hurry up, no, darling, she says. Hurry, hurry, taking the house keys from my hands. I'll read it for you. I don't have it. Do you have the book?
I'll run and get a book. You talk.
Yay. Such a wonderful.
Maria, here, come back. Maria, because she's a bossy woman, is doing, thank you so much. Hey, thank you so much. Maria.
I have it. Got it? Oh, good.
Just to finish, Maria, this is called The Boy. Because for every man who lived through the 60s and came out intact. I'm not talking about Vietnam, I'm talking about the fathers and the arguments at the table. The boy. My older brother is walking down the sidewalk into the suburban summer night. White t-shirt, blue jeans, to the field at the end of the street. Hanger's hideout, the boys called it. An undeveloped plot, a pit overgrown with weeds, some old furniture thrown down there, and some metal hangers clinking in the trees like wind chimes. He's running away from home because our father wants to cut his hair. And in 2 more days, our Father will convince me to go to him. You know where he is, and talk to him. No reprisals, he promised. A small parade of kids in feet pajamas will accompany me. Their voices like the first peepers in spring. And my brother will walk ahead of us home. And my father will shave his head bald. And my brother will not speak to anyone the next month. Not a word, not pass the milk, nothing. What happened in our house taught my brothers how to leave, how to walk down a sidewalk without looking back. I was the girl. What happened taught me to follow him, whoever he was, calling and calling his name. Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Shadow and fact. I imagined my mother dying on a night when sidewalks were shadowed with spring petals. I would cradle her head against my breast, bathe her in water scented with chamomile blossoms, perfume her nutmeg skin with gardenias. A Friday in January, the rail of the hospital bed warmed in my fists as I listened for her breath. I exhaled with her and left her side. Riding home under a starless sky, I hoped for 2 hours of sleep and a bath. I dreamed of her hands, of fingernails she trimmed with her teeth. Silhouettes of avocado leaves frolicked on my torso as I sat almost naked between her knees. She waited for the iron combs to heat on the coals, then pulled them through the bush on my head. Air from her lips cooled a forefinger singed when I reached up to touch my new straight hair. Sunlight on my ankles woke me. I called the hospice, then stumbled to the door, shouting my destination to the taxi driver who finally stopped for me on Main Street. My mother lay the way she always slept, on her side, a palm curved near her face, her rounded chin arched toward the window, her unlined forehead, her cheeks still warm under my kisses. I washed her feet with unscented soap, recited the psalms she taught me, and closed her eyes. The color of the sky was true, clear, and pale as the dress she wore to her grave. So that was in memory of Phoebus.